No, I was just told that.
The practice is so much about integrity, honesty, sincerity. You know, that's actually what I practice in a sense when I, going out to perform. And of course, that's completely counter to what most performance or the pressure of performance makes you want to do, because it makes you want to, suddenly become someone that you're not. Of course, you've got to be something better than you are, because of course you're not good enough as you are, and so on. But I feel it's actually turning that completely around and showing the depth that we are.
We train ourselves to have very disciplined coordination skills, for example, until such point that those skills become automatic and they become part of our habitual pattern, and we can add on another layer. And part of what improvisation is trying to do is pare all that away so that we become more conscious of our habits, and therefore we can open up other choice. It can be a mask, training, or what we term as technique can sometimes be a mask.
I had only really felt the constriction of forms, throughout life almost, and then also in dance forms. Those forms were, developed by certain people, so why should I just conform to that form? It never made any sense to me. I mean, it was fine as a training, but then that was it. You're supposed to go out there and do that, and that never made any sense. When I first saw Steve Paxton, Lisa Nelson improvising, it was absolutely stunning, because I saw two people right there opening themselves to this risk, I suppose, to just walk out there with nothing but themselves. It was so human, what I perceived. They weren't hiding anything, they weren't trying to pretend to be anybody. So I saw this incredible dialogue.
As a viewer, what draws me to improvisation is the transparency, is that you're not seeing the material itself, you're seeing the person. And the material is there as a vehicle just for you to be able to see the person.
I'm not interested in dance being some kind of separate thing from my life, but I'm actually interested in learning about life. I've always been interested in learning about life. And I realized that this form was really a vehicle at that point in time to start to learn about myself, about my relationship with others. And in a sense, you'd say, well, what's that to do with performance? But in a sense, I've always felt, because I watched that performance and it had such a tremendous effect on me, there must have been something extremely valid in that, and I've always trusted in that. I very rarely know how to prepare, but the only thing I do know is that my preparation is not just what I do, right before that performance, but I know it's actually the 25 years that I've been practicing this form. And there's like a wealth of knowledge that's built up through that process. And then taking that into performance, I would say that you become kind of the creator, in a sense, in the moment. In the classes, I really do teach through example. Big! I'm really showing them what's possible in the body when you go into this work. So I am always, in a sense, performing. To be honest, right, and this is tricky, it's a tricky area, because what I feel in myself, that I become a channel. So when I walk out into a space, I feel that in some way I'm actually channeling something. That's my sense of what I'm actually doing, is to walk out there and be absolutely, as much as I can, available. It's a particular kind of very intense concentration and focus. And it's almost, and this is going to sound again kind of weird, it's almost like a trance state. You go into a particular state, but it's not that you leave in that state, but you become more present, more aware. And that's the goal. After a certain point, you start to feel it when you move in this way, because your own body is starting to be attuned to space. You know, space being around us, but space also being within us. I work through space, but if I come actually into contact with you, I'm not focused on, oh, I've hit a form here, but actually the space within the form. You know what I mean? And that's a very different, it totally changes something in the brain.
Everything is relative and everything is in flow and nothing is fixed and static. And so to be creating art forms that reflect that in a way, or as artists just to be involved in processes that reflect that, and that our intuition can make the best decisions in certain situations, whereas what we've traditionally trained is only our rational mind or traditionally valued. It opens up the palette of what choreography can be.
It's not that you just indulge, and I think improvisation has been that, and I think it has a bad name because of that. But if you're really working, you know, you're always keeping perspective on what's happening. You know what I mean? And that's almost what keeps the channel kind of open. As soon as you lose that perspective, you know, you're lost, really. You're really lost. But if you can keep, you develop a sense of humour about the human condition and everything else, which is brilliant. And there's an irony in there, you know, which allows, I think, the picture to emerge, or the, you know, whatever it is, whatever that improvisation is, to emerge and to grow and to expand.
That is, in a sense, I think, the most challenging form of performance, because you're having to draw on all of the knowledge you have, but in an instant. In movement art, one could say, rather than dance, that's really about refining the intelligence of our human behaviour. And seems to me we've been evolving our intelligence as if it was only in the front brain, and we haven't turned that back into our own organism. We're sort of evolving out of our own organism.
And you get people that practice this form and that are like egomaniacs. I mean, you know, they're not really practicing the form, because it's much more than that. You know, and it has to do with our place on the planet here and what we're doing. And yeah, I've never been able to separate, you know, dancing from, because it's the way that I live on the planet. I mean, it's the way that I've found I can live on the planet, you know, and actually really live has been through that. And a lot of the people that find dance, I think they feel that, you know, and then they go through this training which completely destroys a lot of that inspiration that they find in themselves, which I think it's a crime. I actually think it's a crime, you know, and I think it's destroying dance, you know, to some degree, because I think people are looking for something else now. I just feel it, because things are getting so bad, you know, that many people are starting to go, well, wait a minute, you know, what, you know, what do we need, you know, for life to have more meaning, really.